The PWHL is expanding, and with that expansion, it means that the teams that you've become familiar with are going to look a little bit different. And actually, they already do. In the 2026 season, we're adding 2 new teams, one in Seattle and one in Vancouver, bringing the PWHL coast to coast. But in order to expand the league and add those 2 new teams and allow them to still be competitive moving forward, those teams build their initial roster by taking players from existing rosters. A couple of people have asked why the PWHL expansion involves taking players from their existing teams and putting them on the new ones, rather than just having those teams draft entirely new rosters. This is actually not an uncommon thing in sports. When we see leagues expand like the WNBA just did, or like the NHL has previously, an expansion draft does involve taking players from existing teams. And the reason they do that is so that those teams can actually be competitive at the start. Otherwise, you would have these teams building entire rosters out of rookies, which means it would take them years to catch up to the competitiveness of the rest of the league. That being said, the way that the PWHL expansion is working is in 2 different waves. The first, which just completed, is called an exclusive signing period. Prior to this period, all of the inaugural 6 teams were allowed to protect 3 players each. And because that number was so limited, we actually saw some of the stars of those teams end up on those expansion teams. So during the exclusive signing period, each team in Seattle and Vancouver were allowed to sign up to 5 players who had not been protected from the previous rosters. And this is what the first 5 players on the PWHL Seattle team are going to look like. One of the most notable players here being Hillary Knight, who is not only the captain of the Boston Fleet, but also a multi-time Olympian. Additionally, we saw Sarah Nurse go from Toronto to Vancouver. And so you're already seeing pretty big stars end up on these new teams, which is great for the expansion, but a bummer for those home teams that originally had them on their roster. Now, the next phase of this is the expansion draft. And the teams that had at least 2 players taken from their rosters in this exclusive signing period now have the ability to protect 1 more player. And after it all shook out, that means that the Sirens, the Charge, the Victoire, and the reigning champions, the Minnesota Frost, can all protect 1 more player heading into the expansion draft. That expansion draft happens on Monday, where we will see Seattle and Vancouver round out the rest of their rosters with a minimum of 7 new players. Those players will be taken from the existing rosters of the other 6 teams. So far, how are we feeling? Did your favorite player get taken from your team? Are you changing your allegiances now that we have 2 new teams and 2 new areas? And who are you the most nervous to lose in this expansion draft on Monday?